This Sunday on Capital Connection, could the House expel Speaker Madigan?
There are quid pro quos that are established by ComEd.
I think we're going to have some very strident debate, but I think it's going to be fair. The Speaker is going to receive due process.
A special investigative committee is launched to examine Speaker Madigan's alleged role in a ComEd corruption case, why the Speaker says he's innocent, and
congressional candidate Betsy Dirksen Londrigan of Springfield. She's running a great campaign.
Illinois Democrats and Republicans ramp up their campaign efforts as a big race for Congress draws national attention.
We're here to support Rodney Davis, not only for the great job that he's done, but we believe he's the right choice for the people of the 13th District.
Plus, our one-on-one interview with Democrat Betsy Dirksen Londrigan as she makes her case for Congress in her second attempt to unseat the incumbent Republican Rodney Davis. It's all coming up on Capital Connection.
From the Illinois State Capitol Rotunda, Capitol Bureau Chief Mark Maxwell is asking the tough questions. This is Capital Connection.
Welcome to Capital Connection. I'm Mark Maxwell, reporting from the Illinois State House on this Sunday, September 6th. For the first time ever, the Illinois House of Representatives will form a special investigative committee to investigate one of its members who is not yet facing criminal charges. Speaker Madigan himself, now under the spotlight, as 6 House members, 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, will convene that investigative committee as early as this week to start looking into the allegations made in a federal deferred prosecution agreement. ComEd, the state's largest power company, admitted in that document to bribing members of Speaker Madigan's inner circle, not the Speaker himself, but in overt attempts to try and win influence and win favor in the Speaker's office at the very time that the legislature was passing new laws that helped make ComEd a lot of money. Speaker Madigan insists he never broke the law. Governor Pritzker said that if those allegations were true, the Speaker should resign. 7 House Democrats have said he should resign. Now, that's where things picked up earlier this week when House Republican leader Jim Durkin forced the Speaker's hand, forcing him to recuse himself and opening the door to this new investigation just 2 months before a big election. Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan is public official A at the center of a sprawling federal corruption investigation. Now he'll get to plead his case before a panel of his peers and before prosecutors bring any charges against him.
I'm going to, give Speaker Madigan proper due process. He deserves due process just like any other House member.
In a 9-page petition, House Republican leader Jim Durkin called for a panel to investigate the Speaker's role in the ComEd case and demanded he recuse himself from that process. Representative Tom Demmer is one of 3 House Republicans on that panel.
They did this for that. There are quid pro quos that are established by ComEd. So I think there are some very specific things that we have to investigate.
In a statement, Madigan downplayed Durkin's complaint as an election year political stunt to distract voters from President Trump.
I hope that there is not, this is not a political stunt. I hope instead that they're going to be seeking real answers.
House Majority Leader Greg Harris appointed Representative Chris Welch to chair the Special Investigative Committee.
I'm certainly going to take this seriously.
So far, 7 House Democrats have called on Madigan to resign immediately. Several others, including Governor Pritzker, say he should resign if the charges are true.
There are questions that need to be answered by the Speaker, and perhaps the creation of this legislative committee will actually get some of those answers.
Madigan defended himself, saying the law does not prohibit members of the General Assembly from making job recommendations. And he pointed out the bills that benefited ComEd passed with broad support on both sides of the aisle.
I do think the Republicans have to consider that that was a bipartisan effort signed by a Republican governor. And so all of that's going to be taken into consideration during this process. And I don't know how you can ignore it.
When we come back, the virtual campaign rally Illinois Democrats held, inviting big household names in American politics like Senators Cory Booker, Tammy Baldwin, and Joe Biden appearing on camera. Plus, still to come, Congressman Tom Emmer from Minnesota pushing to elect Republicans to Capitol Hill comes to Springfield to throw a fundraiser for Congressman Davis. We hear from Democrat Betsy Dirksen Londrigan.
Are you disgusted by molds and algae growing on your home? XL Eco Clean Soft Wash process gently cleans and sanitizes your roof, siding, gutters, fencing, decks, and more. XL Eco Clean, we're Central Illinois' house wash experts.
When you need to know what the weather will be in the coming week, tune in to WCIA3's 7-day forecast. You can count on our team of meteorologists, Kevin Lively, Adam Claybon, Jack Gervin, and Amelia Henderson for the most accurate 7-day forecast. Sponsored by Edelman.
Lulu and I have been coming to Angel Paws for about a year now. She always looks great. She's always got a cute little haircut, just really friendly. I really like to support small businesses, so I really enjoy coming here.
For pet grooming and sitting, trust Angel Paws.
Ready to sell your home in 2020? With a guaranteed offer from Ryan Dallas Real Estate, skip the process of listing your home and go straight to sold. Closing in as little as 3 weeks. Stay hassle-free with Ryan Dallas Real Estate's guaranteed offer. It's selling made simple.
Green Gardens is an assisted living memory care facility that specializes in Alzheimer's and dementia care. Green Gardens is a small, fun, family-oriented community. We are taking reservations now. Call today and schedule your tour.
Thousands of memories will be placed on that end table. So choose one that will hold those memories longer. When you buy right, it stays right. Year after year, into the next generation. Wright's Furniture and Flooring, making you right at home.
These ads are lies, and they're being paid for by millionaires and billionaires who are trying to fool you into being against the fair tax. The truth? The fair tax has nothing to do with whether Springfield can raise your taxes. They already can. The fair tax makes it possible to charge millionaires and billionaires a higher tax rate than middle-class families. 97% of people would pay the same or less. It's time for change. Vote yes for fairness.
Are molds and algae taking over your home? Our soft washing process gently cleans and sanitizes all exterior surfaces from the roof down. If your home or commercial building needs to be cleaned and sanitized, call us, XL Eco Clean.
You're watching Capital Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
With Election Day 63 days away, Illinois Democrats rallied online around Joe Biden and took swings at President Trump.
We'll have a better chance of getting the health of our nation back when we get rid of the other virus that has infected our country, Donald Trump.
And his party.
They do not have a vision. They have a personality cult based in greed.
Democratic County Chair Christina Zahorik cautioned Democrats not to get too excited or complacent with polls showing Biden with an early lead.
We all know what happened last time.
No matter what that xenophobic, sexist, homophobic racist in the White House says, or what mayhem he causes, we're going to have our election on November 3rd, and we'll vote him out of office.
The day after, President Trump visited Kenosha, Wisconsin, the scene of violent protest where one of his supporters shot and killed 2 people and wounded a third in an altercation.
He was trying to get away from them, I guess, it looks like, and he fell, and then they very violently attacked him.
You may believe mouthing the words law and order makes him strong, but his failure to call on his own supporters to stop acting as an armed militia in this country shows how weak he is.
At Monday night's event, Senator Tammy Duckworth said a country plagued with several crises at once needs a new tone from a new leader in the Oval Office.
Who will actually focus on, instead of ignoring the real problems facing our country, like racial injustice and excessive police force.
Illinois Republicans did not hold their version of a Republican Day you might normally have seen during the Illinois State Fair. Instead, they're fanning out, raising money, and trying to campaign as best they can, either in person or virtually. In fact, one big national Republican, Congressman Tom Emmer, who heads the NRCC, came to town this week visiting Bloomington and Springfield alongside Congressman Rodney Davis. We hear from Emmer next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final boarding call to enjoy non-stop routes to summer in a new Nissan.
And don't miss the 2020 Nissan Bottom Line Sales Event. Save up to $2,000 on select models.
Buy more, save
more during the 4-day Super Labor Day sale at Furniture Row. That's 4 amazing days to get $100 off every $1,000 you spend. With the largest selection at the lowest prices guaranteed, it's the perfect time to refresh a living room, dining room, bedroom, or fall into a new mattress. Score free gifts with qualifying purchase. Plus, 7 years, no interest financing, and free shipping right to your doorstep. But hurry, the 4-day Super Labor Day sale at Furniture Row ends Monday.
It's Game Day Live here at Bill and Julie's house, a fan favorite venue ever since they got gig speed internet. Xfinity gives them the ultimate home field advantage. It's their 12th man.
Hey, Amy, you want to grab a seat?
Julie, we're live.
It's game on with gig speed internet from Xfinity.
Start him, sit him, trade him.
Simple, easy, awesome. Xfinity delivers gig speeds to more homes than anyone. Learn more or get started with Xfinity Internet for $25 a month for 12 months. Click, call, or visit a store today.
I would recommend Beltone hearing aids to any of my family or friends. I have recommended them to a couple different people who ended up buying Beltone, and they were very satisfied with their Beltone hearing aids. One of the things I like about my new Beltone hearing aids is the fact that I can control them with my phone. I can adjust the volume between each individual ear or together, set settings for restaurants. The Bluetooth app on them works great. I can hear them in my tractor. I can hear them in my combine. Clarity is just very good.
This right here is the most delicious way to turn any person into a morning person.
Enjoy 2 savory sausage McMuffin with egg sandwiches for just $4.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend, encourages everyone that is open for business to submit your company's video today. Here's where to upload yours.
If you're open for business, add your video on WCIA.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final boarding call to enjoy nonstop routes to summer in a new Nissan.
And don't miss the 2020 Nissan Bottom Line Sales Event. Get 0% financing for 72 months on 9 models.
You're watching Capital Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
The race for Congress in central Illinois is expected to be one of the hottest contested races nationwide. We know it certainly was in 2018. And in 2020, we have a rematch on our hands. Democrat Betsy Dirksen Londrigan running a second time, trying to unseat incumbent Republican Rodney Davis. This week, Congressman Davis, trailing in campaign cash, showed his strength in the agricultural community. Showing off the endorsements of the Sangamon County Farm Bureau and bringing a big national Republican to his side. Congressman Tom Emmer from Minnesota showing off the support in the ag community. Meanwhile, Democrat Betsy Dirksen Londrigan locking arms with Illinois Democrats, lending her support to Governor Pritzker's biggest campaign pledge, the graduated income tax question that sits on the ballot this November. She's campaigning for that. She announced that support during a big Illinois Democratic event earlier this week.
Making sure that millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share of taxes is on the ballot. Restoring our democracy is on the ballot. So Democrats, we have a lot of work to do. I'm ready, and I know you are too.
You got a challenger that's supporting this governor, your governor's graduated income tax program that, quite frankly, they talk about how it's going to hurt, or it's going to hold the wealthy accountable. It's going to hurt your farming community.
And Democrat Betsy Dirksen Londrigan joins us now in person at the State House, still from this safe social distance. It's good to get you here in person. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, happy to be here, Mark.
I want to get your response to what Congressman Emmer said a moment ago. You are in a close race, and the graduated income tax can be a polarizing issue for some. It might be an issue that candidates for Congress would just leave alone altogether to avoid upsetting voters on one side of the aisle or the other in a close, tight race like this. Why come out in support of the graduated income tax?
Well, I believe that if our teachers, our nurses, and our grocery store workers are paying their fair share in taxes, then millionaires and billionaires should too. And it's not surprising that, Congressman Emmer or Congressman Davis, are trying to distort the truth. The truth is that 97% of people in Illinois, including small businesses and farmers, are going to see zero change to their taxes. This affects the wealthiest people in Illinois. And, again, Congressman Davis was the face of the GOP tax bill that was a huge giveaway to corporations and to special interests and to the biggest, richest 1% in our nation. I support helping working families and the middle class.
The opponents of the graduated income tax say that that puts a lot of faith in the Democrats in Springfield here who control both chambers and in Speaker Madigan, that first rate or that first set of rates won't change in the future. Do you have that level of confidence that there won't be some extra tier that starts moving down toward the middle class and raising their taxes down the road?
No, look, Mark, what I know is that I want our working families to benefit from any tax bill, any tax benefit. And if our grocery store workers are going to work every day and they're paying their fair share, then millionaires and billionaires should too. And again, think about the context for that, Mark. You know, this is coming from somebody who gave away billions of dollars to the wealthiest 1% in our nation and corporations. I mean, this is somebody who gave $40 billion in tax breaks to pharmaceutical companies and then, you know, took $200,000 in corporate PAC money from them. So that's who he's in D.C. working for. I want to work for the people in central Illinois.
Very interesting. Your opponent's campaign, Congressman Davis, his campaign has said that your support for this graduated income tax policy, combined with a joint fundraising agreement with Speaker Madigan, puts you in league with the Speaker, essentially. I don't know if I've seen your response to this question that has been posed to many Illinois Democrats in recent days, especially considering that 7 House Democrats in the State House now say that Speaker Madigan should resign, given what we know about this federal investigation into him, into ComEd, and this 9-year-long bribery scheme. I won't ask you about the Speaker's position in the House, because you don't get a vote there. But you are a prominent Democrat running for a big seat. You'd be in Congress as an Illinois Democrat. Given what you've seen in those federal charging documents, given the detail you've seen in the subpoenas, the wiretaps, all the information that federal prosecutors have shared, do you think it's time for Speaker Madigan to resign as chairman of the Illinois Democratic Party?
Well, Mark, when you asked me about this a few weeks ago, my response is the same. No one is above the law. And, you know, any elected official who is found to have been involved in this scheme should step aside immediately. And, you know, meanwhile, we do have an admittedly guilty party, and that's ComEd, who, by the way, has given my opponent, Rodney Davis, $40,000 in corporate PAC donations.
Mm-hmm. You've highlighted the corporate PAC money several times. I know we've asked you about in your campaign about this. You have a campaign ad that came out after our recent report that says, quote, these are your words, corporate special interest can't buy me, I don't take their money. But you do take campaign cash from corporate lobbyists, including lobbyists for big pharma, for big tech companies. These are people who stake their entire livelihoods on their ability to win influence with people like you, should you be elected to Congress, to help the interest of their bosses, their corporations. How are corporate lobbyists not special interests?
Well, look, first of all, I am very proud to have taken the No Corporate PAC pledge. That is important to me. It is an important first step in cleaning up the corruption in politics, and it's an important step to people across Illinois 13. And as far as individuals who are donating to my campaign, Mark, I have over 50,000 individual donors. My average donation is $60, and every single one of those donations is about building our campaign, our effort to save health care from people like Rodney Davis, and that's my focus.
You've said refusing corporate PAC money is an important step toward fighting corruption, and saying that that's a corrupt act, that donation. I guess how is it different? It's a first step in trying to clean up this system. And of course, Congressman Davis doesn't want to clean up the system. He wants to protect the status quo because it's working for him. I mean, he's taken over $2.9 million from these corporate PACs. So yeah, that system works for him. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, I want that money out of politics. I'm taking the first step. I'm being proactive because I'm running a grassroots campaign here. I want to go to Washington to represent my neighbors in Illinois 13, and I want them to know, and I want them to rest assured that they are who I'm going to be fighting for, not corporations and not special interests. I think ultimately, you know, once the political season dies down, most people watching will look at the way people vote, the way they use the power that the people give them, as the ultimate judge of who they are or how corrupt any candidate might be.
I agree, and and I look forward to being held accountable for my votes, because I'm going to be answering directly to the people in Illinois 13.
And I understand that distinction, but I still just, for example, some of your campaign commercials are being funded in part by corporate PAC money. When the DCCC goes into a joint ad buy with you at the campaign rate, that's corporate PAC money that's putting your message out there. Why not be more upfront about that? Or if that's a corrupting influence, why not separate yourself from that?
No, look, Democrats working to elect Democrats is not news, Mark. Of course Democrats are going to work to elect Democrats. We have really important things to do. We have health care to protect. We have prescription drug costs to lower. We have voting rights to protect. We have really big things to do. So of course they want to elect more Democrats.
Mm-hmm. But it's I guess you're the candidate making the claim that the corporate PAC money is a corrupting influence. I think a lot of Americans might agree with you. I just wondered how do you protect or insulate yourself from that corrupting influence if that corrupting influence is helping to put your message out?
Because I'm taking a first step for my campaign. I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm excited to take it, and I will proudly tell anybody that I am not taking corporate PAC money, not now, not when I'm in Congress. That is not going to change. I am going to Washington, D.C. to represent my neighbors in Illinois 13. Yeah.
So you focus primarily on health care in your campaign, both this time and last time around. That's certainly something that many Americans care about. But this is a special year, given that there is this coronavirus and record unemployment, the precipitous drop-off in employed Americans there this year. How do you distinguish yourself from Congressman Davis on those issues of jobs and the coronavirus?
Well, look, right now I can tell you, because I talk to people, I'm on the phone every day, all day, and people across central Illinois are scared. We are at this economic cliff. People are trying to figure out how they're going to pay their rent. Small businesses are trying to figure out how they're going to stay open and if they're going to make it. And what they need right now is serious leadership who is going to extend unemployment benefits, who is going to refill the coffers of the PPP loans, to make sure that people can stay afloat during this unprecedented time. And frankly, Mark, there is no, there is no bigger spotlight for the need for quality, accessible health care than what we have seen with this pandemic. And people are scared that if somebody like Rodney Davis gets in, who has voted 11 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act with no replacement, that they could get kicked off their health insurance, or any number of the 282,000 people in central Illinois and Illinois 13 who have pre-existing conditions could either lose their coverage or be discriminated against price-wise and get tossed off it and not be able to afford it. Those are very real concerns that people have. Additionally, lowering the cost of prescription drugs is a huge concern that I hear from people every day. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the 13th district, there are a lot of college campuses in this district. You performed well on college campuses in 2018. A close race. It came down to just a few thousand votes. But this is the year of COVID, and we know that fall enrollment on campus has taken a drastic hit. How does the coronavirus, especially on college campuses, impact your chances?
Well, we've been communicating with people across, the 13th district, obviously. I think last month alone, my volunteers and interns made over 50,000 calls with voters, or had over 50,000 calls with voters. It's a lot of calls. So we're going to continue doing that. And as far as the campuses go, it's just going to look a little bit different. We're still doing everything that we need to do. We are in full-on voter registration mode on all the campuses, and it's going great. These kids are fired up. They are ready for November 3rd, I can tell you that.
Yeah, and is there a hope that is there still outreach? We know some college students, for example, who may have voted here in 2018, perhaps for you, should get an application to vote by mail. Is there some hope? Is there any outreach to them, hoping that they will still cast their vote here in the 13th?
Well, the students are back on campus.
Many of them are.
Across the district. Yeah, the students are back on campus across the district. And so we're focusing our efforts on the students who are back on campus, and there's a lot of them on campus. And so that's where our efforts are, is to make sure that those students who are there, that they register to vote, and if they are already registered, then that they update their address there, in Champaign or in Edwardsville, wherever, they're going to school.
We heard from Christina Zahorik, the chair of the Illinois Democratic County Chairs Association this week, say to Democrats who might be excited about the prospect of a Joe Biden presidency, don't count your chickens before they hatch. I'm paraphrasing her sentiment, but essentially she was saying we've seen national polls in the past, in 2016, it didn't quite turn out that way. Give us a preview of what Congresswoman Betsy Dirksen Londrigan would look like in a second term should President Trump win re-election. What would that sound like? This congressman in this district has taken an oftentimes friendly tone, if a muted tone, with the president, and I wonder what that would look like if there was a different member of Congress in the 13th. What would we expect to hear from you?
Well, first of all, you can expect me to always put the people in Illinois 13 first, and no matter who the president is, that I am there to fight for their health care, for access to quality, affordable care, for lowering the cost of prescription drugs, for protecting people with pre-existing conditions. There's your first difference. We've got a congressman now who votes against lowering the cost of prescription drugs and against protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and is trying to break our health care system. I want to build it up, and I'll work with anybody to do that. You can also expect that with any administration, that when I see somebody who is, whether it is tweeting, whether it is, to the national media, doing things like calling on people to commit illegal acts like voting twice, that I will be there to stand up for our nation and say that that's unacceptable. And we don't have that either right now, because Congressman Davis refuses to stand up to this administration.
Betsy Dirksen Londrigan joining us live, or here with us in the State House from a safe social distance.
Socially distanced, live.
Yeah. Even cleaned off the microphone and everything. She was wearing a mask when she walked in. We're keeping our precautions. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. All right, we're back in just a moment.
We've come to appreciate what home has to offer. Right now at Feldco, buy one window and you'll get one free, plus no interest for 1 year. That'll help keep your home and your family warm, safe, and comfortable all year long. That's something we've been providing for almost 50 years. Let Feldco get you ready for colder weather. Buy one window, get one free now.
Buy one, get one free, and soon. Call now.
For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866 for Feldco.
Looking for somewhere safe and convenient to store your stuff? Storage 309 has just what you need. We offer climate-controlled units of all sizes with surveyed 24-hour gate access, and our easy move-in and check-in machine keeps storage simple. Storage 309 in Champaign, Illinois.
Don't miss great Labor Day savings during Blaine's Farm and Fleet's Labor Day celebration sale going on now. We have everything you need at amazing low prices throughout the store. Like buy any 3-passenger or light truck tires, get one free. Plus, get up to $100 in rebates on select tires. Hampton ratchet straps are just $8.99. Get $130 off these men's Thorogood boots, $69.99. And buy one pair of Skechers, get one half off.
Find value at Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
It's the Labor Day event at Illini Mattress. Save up to $800 on Stearns & Foster and get free local delivery plus 0% financing for up to 48 months with approved credit. Visit family-owned Illini Mattress for great savings on your best sleep.
That does it for us today. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can always catch our full extended interviews up on our website. We hope you'll join us right back here at the same time next week. For Capital Connection, I'm Mark Maxwell.